Good morning, warriors. Welcome to Morning Adrenaline. Today is Monday, February 2nd, 2026. It is time to wake up the warrior. Hey, before the day starts pulling on you, before you start receiving those notifications, having conversations, and obligations compete for attention, let's address this first. Not what you'll face today, but how you're going to face it. See, the most dangerous lie people believe is that they don't have control. Not over life, but over life situations. So this is what the language of surrender sounds like. Just listen carefully. That's all you have to do on how people explain their behavior. I couldn't help it. That's just how my mind works. I don't know why I do this. See, these aren't explanations, they're abdications. People speak about their thoughts as if there's some sort of weather system. Random, uncontrollable, inevitable, as if the mind just happens to them. Here's where that argument breaks down, though. The same people saying this can suddenly focus when danger shows up. They can concentrate when money's on the line. They can override fear when something truly matters. So the problem isn't capacity, it's not intelligence, and it's not even discipline. It's ownership. Somewhere along the way, people stopped treating the mind as something they command and started treating it as something they endure. And once authority is surrendered internally, everything external steps in to take control. Mood starts driving behavior. Emotion starts dictating decisions. Circumstances start running the day. And it's not because they're powerful, but because no one else is in charge. So this is where control actually lives. Today, we're talking about mind autonomy. What control actually means, why so many people believe they don't have it, and how that belief quietly dismantles discipline, productivity, and identity. See, today's not about positive thinking. It's not about mindset tricks, and it isn't about feeling motivated. Today is about your authority. Reclaiming command over one system that determines every decision you make, every habit you reinforce, and every outcome you live with. Because when the mind isn't governed, nothing else in your life is. So before we go any further, let's answer the question of the day. If you don't control your mind, how do you ever do anything you don't feel like doing? Think about that. Every hard workout, every uncomfortable conversation, every moment you stayed focused when quitting would have been much easier. And those weren't accidents, they weren't moods, and they certainly weren't random. Something inside you decided, and your body followed. So the question isn't whether that ability exists. The question is why you pretend it doesn't most of the time. So let's stop talking around it. Up to this point, we've just been looking at what's happening, how people talk, how they explain themselves, how control keeps getting handed away. And if all we did was notice it, absolutely nothing would change. Because awareness doesn't fix behavior. Knowing the lie doesn't break it. What breaks it is removing it. Because you can't build discipline on top of a belief that says, I don't have control anyway. The belief poisons everything downstream. So before we talk about habits, before we talk about structure and execution, we have to take that lie apart and see where it actually comes from. And it's not to judge it, not to excuse it, and not to justify it, but to end it. So let's break this down clearly. 5 truths you need to understand if you want real control of your mind, real autonomy of your mind back. So let's jump in and let's start with the first. The idea that I can't control my mind is a learned belief. No one is born believing they lack control. That idea doesn't show up on its own. It's a trained thought. It's a trained belief. It's reinforced every time someone acts on impulse, or they avoid discomfort, or they let emotions make the call, or you walk away from your responsibilities. If you do that long enough and reaction starts to feel automatic, and once something feels automatic, people stop questioning it. They don't say, I've practiced giving up control. They say, that's just how I am. But here's the part most people don't want to face. If you can interrupt a thought, control already exists. If you can delay an action, direction already exists. If you can choose silence instead of reaction, authority is already there. So the issue isn't capability, it's execution. What people call lack of control is usually just a habit they've never challenged, not a condition or a pattern. And patterns don't disappear on their own. They get replaced. See, people don't lack autonomy. They lack the practice of using it when it's uncomfortable. Here's the second point. The mind is a tool, not the authority. See, once you see the lack of control is learned, the next mistake becomes obvious. People confuse having thoughts with being commanded by them. Your mind generates ideas, impulses, fears, and stories. That does not, by the way, make them instructions. Most people live as if every thought deserves obedience. As if noticing a thought means they have to follow it. It doesn't. Thoughts are inputs, not orders. And left unchecked, the mind will always lean toward the same things. Safety instead of growth. Comfort instead of progress. What's familiar instead of what's true. And I wouldn't call that a character flaw. It's just default programming. So the real mistake is assuming that default settings get to run your life. And they don't unless you allow them to. Your control begins the moment you stop treating thoughts as facts and start treating them like information. You don't need to silence your mind. You don't need to fight it. You just need to decide which thoughts get authority and which ones get shoved to the side and ignored. That decision made over and over and over again is what autonomy actually looks like in real life, in practice. The body never leads, it reveals. That is point number 3. The body never leads, it reveals. Once you understand the mind isn't the authority, the body gets blamed for something it never did. See, the body doesn't make decisions. It follows instructions, spoken or unspoken. So when someone says, my body just didn't want to, what they're really saying is this: the command I gave it was weak, or it never came at all. See, silence is still instruction. Hesitation is still permission. The body isn't rebelling, it's reporting. And reporting the clarity of or confusion, by the way, coming from the mind. So when the mind is decisive, the body complies. When the mind is fragmented, the body defaults to comfort. And fatigue doesn't stop action, uncertainty does. Discomfort doesn't override discipline, ambiguity does. The body isn't in charge, it's just honest about the information it's receiving. Next point. Autonomy is an identity, not a mood. Here's where most people lose it again. They treat control like a feeling, something that comes and goes, something you wait for, something you hope shows up. And the problem is that, guys, that is backwards. Control isn't emotional. It's identity. It's your identity. I'm someone who decides. I interrupt impulsiveness. I don't outsource my internal state. The identity, your personal identity, removes negotiation from the process. You don't wait to feel ready. You don't debate with your mood. You don't ask permission from discomfort, do you? You act from the assumption that you are already in charge. And when identity is clear, discipline stops feeling forced. Because you're not trying to become someone, you're behaving in alignment with who you already are. Point number 5, last point. Autonomy is built through daily command. Am I on the right point? 4 or 5. Autonomy is built through daily command. This is where everything becomes practical. Autonomy isn't built through intensity. It's built through repetition. Small, boring, unglamorous commands. Waking up when you said you would. Completing tasks without emotional debate. Redirecting attention when it starts to drift away. Ending excuses the moment they show up. Can you imagine what your life would look like if you started ending your excuses in real time as they showed up? Sounds hard? I'm going to show you in a minute why it's not and how to actually do it. But each one of those things trains the same thing, authority. And again, it's not motivation or inspiration. I'm not here to motivate or inspire you. I'm here to show you how to change it. We're talking about command. And real command is calm. There are no speeches or hype or theatrics or performances. Instruction and then execution. And over time, what happens is the mind stops arguing. And in return, your body stops hesitating. And control stops feeling like this massive weight or effort. Because it's no longer something you visit. It's something that you live from. So let's bring this all together. You have never been powerless. In your entire life, you were never powerless. You've just been untrained. Your mind is not your enemy. It's completely within your control. It is controllable. Your mind is controllable. And your body isn't the problem. It's only the vessel that handles the execution of what your instructions are to it from your mind. And your identity is what determines permanence. You need a strong identity to make all of that rock solid where it's ingrained in you. See, autonomy isn't something you discover one day. It's something that you practice frequently. And the more you practice it, the less negotiation it requires. So this is where mechanism matters. And it's why I built the Sisu Vita platform, the Sisu Vita membership platform. And again, I'm going to say it again. It's not built on temporary motivational dopamine rushes. And it's not to stack more discipline on top of resistance. Sisu Vita works by removing what's in the way. So let me give you an example. Daily mental clutter gets cleared through a method we use inside the membership site that you get unlimited access to, by the way, called problem shifting. Think about if you could remove all the daily clutter from your life, all the things that keep recurring on a daily or at least a very frequent basis that start to drag you down, that start to bring your thoughts and emotions to different places that are not productive to what you're trying to do that day. So what we're talking about is the background noise, overthinking, an internal friction that drains authority before the day even gets started. So when that noise is gone, focus doesn't have to be forced. Discipline doesn't have to be negotiated. The mind, your mind, has space to lead again. And then there's trauma shifting. Not dramatic storytelling, not reliving the past, but dissolving old mental residue, no matter how big or small. It could be something from your childhood, a childhood trauma where you were abused, or it could be a boyfriend or girlfriend that broke up with you last month and said something hurtful. Experiences, patterns, moments, big or small, that quietly shape reactions long after they should have expired, or at least you wish them to. And so when that weight is removed, you're no longer a slave to them. You're no longer reacting from old damage. You're responding from present authority. And that's the point. Less friction, more clarity, more alignment with self. See, CC Vita is not a program you visit occasionally. It's an unlimited system, a private membership, priced lower, by the way, than the price of a gym membership to have complete control over your entire existence. And in this case, mind autonomy. Because it's meant to be used and available on demand anytime you need it. So this is where I'm going to hit you a little bit on a personal level. Because at this point, you know the truth. Control isn't missing. Authority isn't gone. Autonomy isn't rare. It's just been deferred. And it's not because you couldn't act, but because something felt easier to obey. So here's the question that I want to leave you with. If autonomy is your responsibility, will you continue to allow excuses to run your mind? Work your body, feed your mind, build your soul, wake up the warrior. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Stuck in your mind, fighting shadows of a story you left behind.